Hey, leaders, happy Saturday. As promised, I am uploading this video for you all to have access to this month's training. So we do our leadership trainings every other month. So we met in the month of June. We have July off, and so now we are in August, and so it is time for another one of our monthly leadership trainings. All right, really quick before I go into the recap from our last session and then the teaching for this month's training, I want to, again, place an emphasis on you all providing your availability for soul and wellness check-ins. All right. So I understand that there's a lot going on. There's a lot concerning conflicting of schedules, but I need you all to get that to me as soon as possible. I know a few of you all have reached out and we have yet to be able to find a date because our schedules have been conflicting, but I encourage you all to submit an updated version of your schedule so we can get something on the books. Even if you don't have a lot of time, we can take anywhere, the sessions could go anywhere between 10 to 30 minutes. I just want to make sure that I have the opportunity to meet with you all to discuss any pressing concerns, anything that you may be going through. I understand that we are in a pandemic, and so there's been a lot placed on us to adjust in multiple capacities. So for those of us that are not only leaders, but we are wives or husbands, or entrepreneurs or daughters or students, the ways in which the world has been orchestrated has really kind of took a shift and a turn. And so I just really want to emphasize that we want to create that space to allow you all to process and talk through these sudden changes, because we want to make sure that we are prioritizing your health and your well-being, because it impacts your ability. Not only does it impact your ability to lead, but we also want to make sure that we are producing an environment and a space where we are placing an emphasis on prioritizing your well-being beyond your ability to do, be, and produce. We want to make sure that you as a person are doing well. So please, I will post another comment in the Slack to create another thread, and you all can post there. I know in the past I was having people reach out to me directly, but sometimes with text messages, if I can be transparent, I'm not the best at always responding to messages. So I'm going to post in the Slack, and then I am going to start a thread so you all can comment on that thread and let me know your availability. So I'm going to do that as soon as I upload this, and I would like for y'all to respond as soon as possible. Also, I mentioned in the Slack channel that we will be taking on a new format for uploading our leadership and our training videos. So I know that we had a set day for Saturdays, and I know that Saturdays are days of rest for people to, experience relaxation, spend time with their family. And so I didn't want to provide or present something that could potentially pull away from that. So I thought that we could try the approach of doing pre-recorded training videos, uploading them, and then you all can submit your feedback and your commentary. The only thing that I require for these is that there must be participation and engagement. So taking the time to review, I promise you I will try to make these teachings as practical, powerful, and concise as possible. So I will not be sitting here talking to you for an hour via video. That's a long time to listen to anybody talk. It's a long time for me to talk. So I will try to keep these as simple, as practical as possible. But I want to know you all's feedback. I want to know the ways in which you were blessed, the ways in which you were expanded, challenged, cut, all of that. I want to hear you all's thoughts, and I want to present a space and an opportunity to get some conversation going about these leadership principles. I think that one of the most essential components to leadership is dialogue. And so being able to dialogue with fellow like-minded leaders to be able to draw from principles and strategies that are presented, retrieving the wisdom from it and sharing it, put it back into rotation by way of dialogue and conversation will be beneficial for everyone. So please participate. Please review these teachings. Yes. I feel as though this will be a great way for us to further the conversation from these trainings. All right. So as I stated, we have our leadership trainings every other month. We met in the month of June, and we talked about learning your existence as a leader. And that was a dynamic, profound time of discussion as well as questions. And then we took July off, and then this month, being the month of August, we'll be talking about character and the need for godly character as a leader. All right. So if you're taking notes, which I hope that you are, because note takers are history makers, I want you to begin to jot down some of these, not some of these principles, all of these principles. All right. So here's how we're going to begin the discussion. As a leader, one of the most profound lessons that you must master is exemplifying godly character. All right. As a leader, one of the most profound lessons that you must exemplify, profound lessons that you must master is exemplifying godly character. All right. So one other thing that you'll notice about me is that I will reference Dr. Myles Munroe quite a bit in this teaching. I love him. This man of God is brilliant, okay, pertaining to all not just leadership, purpose, fasting, relationships. He is one of my absolute favorite teachers, preachers, men of God. That man of God is amazing. So you'll hear me reference him a lot. So Dr. Myles Munroe stated that the foundation of leadership is character, that the beginning point of the process or the journey of leadership, the starting point is character, right? That is the foundation of that process. All right. Dr. Myles Munroe also provided 5 definitions to character that I'm going to provide for you, and then we're going to briefly talk through them. So the first one is that he defined character as a commitment to a set of values without compromise. All right. A commitment to a set of values without compromise. So how does this apply to us in this context, in this space? Choosing to embody godly character will require you to delay or to surpass pleasure to pursue purpose. All right. So saying yes to the calling, saying yes to the assignment to lead in any capacity will require you to surpass pleasure, to surpass comfort in order to pursue purpose, to pursue the purpose, the will, and the intent that God has created or orchestrated for you within the context of leadership in whatever domain of leadership that you are going to function in. All right. The next definition that he provides us is character is a dedication to a set of standards without wavering. All right. Character is a dedication to a set of standards without wavering. As leaders, it is our responsibility to continually be in pursuit of the standard that has been set before us. All right. Without wavering. Now, that's not to say that you won't have moments of uncertainty, that you won't have moments of doubt, that you won't have moments of despair or, grief. Those are a part of the human experience. And so even as leaders and developing character, learning how to utilize those moments in a way that serves us. It's not to say that we won't have them, or it's not to say that there won't be seasons in which we'll lose our footing, but it's just making sure that we're not wavering in the sense of we are decided. And because we are decided, we know that challenges, we know that trials, we know that tribulations will come. But even in the midst of being hit with trials and tribulations, we are not wavering. We are not retracting our yes. Our yes is unwavering. All right. The next definition that he provided is character is self-imposed discipline and keeping moral convictions. Character is self-imposed discipline and keeping moral convictions. All right. So conviction is key to leadership. All right. Conviction is key to leadership. So you can discover your purpose and still not be convicted enough to pursue it. All right. So you cannot lead effectively absent of conviction. All right. You need conviction, right, in order to be able to lead effectively, right? So a leader that has no conviction, a leader that has no morals, a leader that has no values is bound to lead others into destruction. All right. You have to make sure that as leaders, there are certain convictions that you have. And I'm going to unpack and talk a bit more about that in a little bit. All right. Another definition he provided is character is a constant effort to integrate your words, your deeds, and your actions. Character is a consistent effort to integrate your words, your deeds, and your actions. All right. Simply put, when you say something, you do it. And you do it because you are it. Okay. When you say something, you do it. And you do it because it's who you are. All right. So what does that tell us as leaders? We have to be one with not only what we say, but what we do. All right. So as a leader, you cannot say one thing and then your actions convey or depict another. We are to lead by example. Right. Last month, I mentioned one of the effective models of teaching that I believe works well within the context of leadership as well is the teaching model of I do, we do, and then you do it. So as leaders, you are to demonstrate first. You are to be the forerunner. You are to be the example, be the template of what something is to look like, of what a person is to embody. All right. And then you enter to the phase of you doing it together. Now that I've done it for you, we're going to do it together. I'm going to take you, we're going to go hand in hand, and I'm going to walk you through what it is that I've done. All right. So it's I do, we do it together, and then you do it. So now I'm able to release you on your own, and you're able to put into practice the principles, the tips, and the strategies that I have taught you. All right. I do as a leader. I do first. I'm the model. I'm the template. All right. We do it together. So I begin to take you by the hand and walk you through what it is that I'm embodying, what it is that I possess. And then you do it. So I then release you with the tools and the strategy to be able to embody it. All right. And that is essential to grab a hold of in leadership, because the purpose of leadership is not only to develop and sharpen yourself and your ability, but to develop the eye to identify potential and to begin to identify people that you can cultivate potential in for the purposes of multiplication and reproduction. All right. So that's another teaching that we'll get to a little bit later, is talking about the responsibility of leaders in leadership to identify for the purposes of multiplication. All right. Okay. The next definition that he provided us is character is the, oh no, I'm sorry. I'm jumping ahead of myself. Give me 1 second. I believe that those were all 5. Let me go through them again really quick. Character is a commitment to a set of values without compromise. Character is a dedication to a set of standards without wavering. Character is self-imposed discipline in keeping moral convictions. Character is a constant effort to integrate your words, deeds, and action. Oh, and then here's the last one. Character is the willingness to sacrifice your pleasure for the sake of principles. All right. Character is the willingness to sacrifice your pleasure for the sake of principles, right? So simply put, we're human. We're flesh. We have desires. We have innate responses to things that we would want, right? As humans, as individuals. But a part of living under the standard or the calling of God is sacrificing those pleasures, sacrificing those desires for the sake of adhering to God's principles. And we know that the principles of God are found in God's word. All right. So another part of being willing to sacrifice pleasure for the sake of principles, what that entails is simply being one with self. So eliminating the opportunity or eliminating the option of embodying different people or being different people. All right. So there is a oneness in your pursuits as you begin to embark upon the endeavors of leadership development, leadership trainings, leadership grooming. You are ridding yourselves of any potential secret versions of yourself, right? You're sacrificing yourself of options, of alternative versions, all right? And if we take a moment to sit and talk through that, and how gut piercing or gut punching that is because if we're honest, if you're like myself, I don't know about you all, but you know, this is a space also for me to be transparent. I love comfort. I love comfort in knowing what's happening, how it's happening, when it's going to happen. I love the comfort of that. I love the comfort of being able to know that I have space, I have room to maneuver, I have options, right? And so is that a bad thing? Not necessarily, but within the context of leadership and living under the standard of leadership and living under the assignment of leadership, there will be seasons or moments in that process and that journey in which the Lord will cause you to rid yourselves of options, to rid yourselves of alternative versions. And you have to humble yourself and submit under his version. All right. Submit under his plan. All right. One will, one way. All right. So as leaders, we have to continually remain in a posture of humility to make sure that we don't become blinded or deceived by comfort, deceived by pleasure, that we begin to allow ourselves to take on different natures, to where when we're with God or when we're in certain contexts, we've mastered one nature. But then when we're not in the presence of godly things, or when we're not in a space in which we are being met with the standard, then we begin to present another version of ourselves. And I don't think we talk enough about it, but that is very easy to do. Okay, and so as a leader, this is why humility is essential, and we have to humble ourselves to the need for sacrifice in order to relinquish alternative motives that could lure us away from who the Lord intended for us to be. The Lord created you one tent, one version. All right, God has a set purpose for your life, and He created you with a specific design in mind, not alternative versions. All right. And so as a leader, we have to live with that reality. We have to live with that understanding. All right. Really quickly, I want us to talk through for your philosophy as a leader. All right. So your philosophy, simply put, is your belief system. Okay. So they are ideas that you've collected over time that you identify with as truth. All right. Your philosophies are your belief system, and they're ideas that you've collected over time that you identify with as truth. All right. All leaders lead with a philosophy or a set belief system. All leaders do. All right. So I want to create a space or a moment for you to briefly think through what is yours. All right. What is your philosophy? What is your belief system? What has life trained you to see as truth, or what has life trained you to deem as acceptable or appropriate? As a leader, you must take the space to assess and to examine what your philosophy is and what your belief system is, because it's from that place that you produce. It's from that place that you lead. All right. So you have to develop an awareness of that. Dr. Myles Munroe says that your beliefs create your values produces your morals inform your ethics produces your character, and your character controls your life. All right. I know I just said a mouthful. I repeat it again. When I heard the man of God say that, it sent me to a place. All right. It got me all the way together. But I believe that it's so profound, and I think that every leader needs to meditate on this. All right. Your beliefs create your values. Your values produces your morals informs your ethics produces your character, and your character controls your life. All right. Godly character is something that we must continually be in pursuit of, for it shapes the structure of your life. All right. So before we get into the context of leading people, let's take a moment to make it personal to us. Your character, all right, or your lack thereof, controls your life. So the trajectory or the path in which your life is set will be altered if you pursue it absent of godly character, right? And the humbling part is that has nothing to do with God. As I mentioned earlier, the Lord has a designated path or a designated course that He intends for our life to be subject to. However, if we opt out of subjecting ourselves to seasons, all right, to seasons of having our character be groomed and developed, all right, having different tendencies in our character to be called out, to be adjusted, all right, it will impact the overall quality of your life. Okay. All right. Something else I want to briefly talk through are vital leadership keys. All right. So here are 3 provided by Dr. Myles Munroe. He provides us 3 vital leadership keys that every leader must lead with this understanding or with this mentality. All right. You must embody these 3 things as a leader. All right. Purpose. All right. Purpose equates to vision. All right. Having an understanding of your why. What is the purpose, or what is the intent of you leading this people in this moment, in this season? All right. Having vision. Okay. The next thing you need is potential. You need ability, right? Now, you need ability, not perfection. Okay. And sometimes with leadership, we disqualify ourselves because we feel as though we're not perfect. All right. But in order to lead effectively, one of the things that you need is potential. You need ability, all right? Whether you've perfected that ability or not, leadership is a process. And so as you submit yourself to the rigors of being humbled, of being stretched, of being adjusted, all right, your ability enhances. As you even devote yourself to seasons of study, being a student, you can develop or enhance your leadership over time. All right. It starts in seed form. It starts with potential. It starts with ability. All right. I can give a little bit of my story in that if you would have told me 4 years ago I would be doing this, I would have laughed, because I never envisioned myself training or developing leaders. I didn't realize I had the capacity or the grace for it. But what I did was submit myself and humble myself to seasons of study, to seasons of preparation, and the seed form of potential and ability that God had given me expanded over time. The more I sought his face, the more I came into agreement with his will, and the more I devoted myself as a student to studying my calling and my assignment. All right. The last thing you need are principles, right? You need values. Okay. So in leading others, you need purpose or vision, sight. You need potential. You need a ability and a desire and a hunger to cultivate potential and ability. You need principles, you need values, all right? You need things that are set in place that you will not buckle or waver on when it comes to leading and guiding others, all right? All right, the next point I want to talk through is the myth concerning character, all right? I want to talk through a common myth when it comes to character. So sometimes when we think of character, we automatically think of ability. So because a person is able to do this, then surely their character must be intact. Or because a person can pray like this, or prophesy like this, or teach like this, or sing like this, then surely their, character is intact. All right. And that's a common myth. All right. Character is not all about what you do, but it's about who you are. So a person can produce well, but who they are be in shambles. All right. So as leaders, not only must we master or hone in on ourselves first and making sure that we are embodying godly character, meaning we are embodying the nature of God, that we are adequately and effectively reflecting the image of God, not through works, but through our life, through our decisions, right? Not only do we have that responsibility to ourselves first and foremost, we have that responsibility to the people that we are leading, to the people that we are cultivating and instilling in them that it's not all about what you do, but it's about who you are. But before we can instill that in them as leaders, we must take a step back to make sure that that principle, that understanding has been instilled in us. All right. It's not about what you do. It's about who you are. All right. Jot that down, circle it, highlight it, do whatever you need to do to make it stand out on the page. All right. Character is not about what you do. It's about who you are. Who you are matters to God beyond your ability to produce. Okay. You sing beautifully. You prophesy well. You pray powerfully. Okay. You teach with the wisdom of God. All right. And God honors that and he appreciates that. But God is most committed to who you are. Right? Who you are at all times, not just in a space when you're being pulled on to minister. All right. Who you are matters to God. All right. And when you really sit in that, when you really meditate on that, the reality of that brings you to a place of gratefulness. When I sat in that, I was moved to a place of tears because it reveals the God's nature of being intentional. Right? In a world and in a culture, in a society, in a space that's all about what can you do? What do you have to offer? What can you give? God in his sovereignty overlooks all of that and says beyond your ability to produce, beyond your ability to give, do, be, offer. I want to know who you are. Absence of all of those things. All right. So when you really sit in that will mess you up. It will really mess you up. All right. So having that understanding that character is not all about what you do, but who you are, it's important because the essence or the core of you is what you replicate as a leader. Okay. What does this mean? Character is contagious. Character is contagious. The essence or the core of you as an individual, you are replicating that as a leader. So when you are imparting, when you are teaching, when you are training, yes, people hear your words, but people also watch and mirror and reflect who you are, which is why, as I mentioned earlier, we must be one with our words. We cannot say one thing and do another. We must make sure that we create a space to where there is a merging of what we say and what we do, because that is what we are replicating. That is what we are imparting as a leader beyond words. All right. Those that you serve look at your life. All right. And they model after what it is that they see. Okay. And it's not to get you to a place of feeling like I got to be perfect. I got to dot every I, I got to cross every T. I got to do this. There's no such thing. Right. It's not to place a demand on you to be perfect. It's to place a demand on you to be sober, to be aware of the standard and the call and the assignment of leadership. Okay. Character is contagious. Character is contagious. All right. If you are a leader that conveys the nature of God, you're loving, you're welcoming, and that is what you convey. That is what you impart to your team. That is what your team will demonstrate and convey. All right. So another another principle that we need to process or talk through is that your team is a direct reflection of you. Okay. Your team is a reflection of you. All right. And so we have to make sure that what we are imparting, right, not just by way of words, but by way of action, what we are imparting to our team is in alignment with the nature and the representation of Christ. All right. So the essence or of the core of who you are is what you replicate as a leader. All right. So, another thing that I want to briefly talk through, as we talked about character not being about what you do, but it being about who you are, is having the understanding that ability impresses man, but it's character that impresses God, right? Let's look at the scripture for, we know that man looks at outward appearance, but it's the Lord that looks at the heart, all right? So man or people are impressed with ability. God is not. God has given you every ability. God has given you every gift. And yes, when you utilize it to bring him glory, there is delight that he takes in it. But the Lord is most delighted in your person. He's most delighted in your nature and in your character, representing him beyond your abilities. All right. So as a leader, you have to take the time to decide who is your priority, man or God. All right. Talked about ability impressing man. So ability, you get accolades from man. You get praises from man, right? But character and your pursuit of godly character impresses God. As a leader, you have to have that moment and asking yourself, which am I going to prioritize? All right. This selection structures the course of your life. Outside of leading teams, outside of leading departments, or leading in whatever capacity you lead in, this selection structures the course of your life, right? And it is our hope, when you are listening through these principles and jotting down these principles, that you're not just looking at it within the context of what you do in church, but in the overall grand scheme of your life, right? We want healthy, whole, sober, humble leaders in life, not just in ministry and not just in church. All right. Godly character preserves vision and influence. All right. Any effective leader, the goal ultimately is longevity. When you are building, when you are producing, when you are structuring anything, the goal for any effective leader is longevity. All right. You cannot have longevity absent of vision and influence. Okay. So godly character preserves both. When you have humbled yourself and submitted to the process of allowing your character to reflect the nature and to reflect the image of Christ, you preserve your sight. You preserve your ability to see. You preserve your influence, your credibility, your reputation, your namesake. All right. This is why godly character is essential. All right. We can go ahead and begin to wrap up, but I want to give you all a few scriptures on what does the Bible say about character. All right. Proverbs 22:1 says a good name is to be chosen rather than great riches, and favor is better than silver or gold. That's Proverbs 22:1. Psalms 1:1, it says, blessed is the man who walketh not in the counsel of the wicked, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers. All right. That's Psalms 1:1. We have Romans 5:4. And endurance produces character, and character produces hope. That's one of my favorite scriptures. Romans 5:4. Romans 5:4. Alrighty. So we can go ahead and end there. I pray that you guys were blessed, as I mentioned, practical teaching, but good stuff. It is my hope and prayer that you all were able to retrieve some good wisdom from this. As I stated, I am going to upload this to Slack, and I want to create some conversation around this teaching, around this training. Any questions that you have, pose them. Let's keep the conversation going concerning acquiring godly character. It is needed, not just in your leadership journey, but in life. All right. I love you all, and I'll talk to y'all soon.